What's up, you guys? This is Ryan Mickler. I am the host and the founder of the Order of Man podcast and movement. And guys, it is a movement. I had made a post the other day on, I think, everywhere Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We had just marked, as of March 16th, the 6-year anniversary of Order of Man. It's hard for me to believe that it's been 6 years, but it has. We've done over 700 podcasts, over 35 million downloads. I think there's 500,000 plus men who are following us on various social media platforms. And I could not be more proud and honored regarding what we've been doing here. And more important than the numbers, it's the individual. It's the father who wants to lead his children. It's the husband who wants to connect with his wife. It's the business owner who wants to lead his employees. It's the community leader who wants to serve young men and women in his community and lead effectively. It's the individual that matters to me. And I feel like if we serve enough individuals, then we will begin to make our dent in our communities, make our dent in the country, make our dent in the world. And that's what we're doing. And we're just getting started. We do that if you're just visiting us for the first time via this podcast and our exclusive brotherhood, the Iron Council, and merchandise and courses and live events and everything else that we've got going on. You can figure that all out. You can find that all out. The other thing that we're doing right now is we're on the big Origin beard oil kick. By the way, guys, I don't work with Origin. I get messages every single day from you guys, men that are following along with what we're doing, who think that I work for Origin. And so sometimes you'll send me your customer service questions, and while I'll do the best I can to answer those questions, I am not an employee of Origin. I just believe in these guys. I love these guys. These are my neighbors, literally my neighbors. They're friends. We go to dinner together. We train jiu-jitsu together. So I believe in what they're doing. But we've got the Origin beard oil launch happening right now. So if you go onto Amazon and type in Origin beard oil, and I think Amazon's going to try to trick you into just showing you the post for original beard oil. So be very wary of their little tricks. It's Origin beard oil. So make sure you're looking for the results for Origin beard oil, and you'll find us, support us there. 100% made and sourced in America. And we're going to give you a free bottle of beard oil if you pick up one on Amazon. So check that out. All right, guys. With that said, I want to talk with you about something that I didn't think would be polarizing, but has ended up being a polarizing subject. The other day on, I think, both Instagram and Twitter, I had made a post and I said 3 tips for individual sovereignty or something along those lines. And the 3 tips were: get strong, get smart, get rich. That's it. The overwhelming majority of people who responded and commented and engaged believed that that was true. But I had some people push back on that a little bit. So I wanted to explore that, to uncover that, to unpack that a little bit, because that's a ridiculous idea in my mind, to attempt to fight against the idea of getting strong and smart and wealthy. That's how we create sovereignty in our lives. So what is sovereignty? Well, sovereignty, in my own words, would be not having to be at the mercy of anyone or anything. You're self-reliant, you're independent, you're able to make decisions based on your conscience, not your financial situation or your health situation. And I see a lot of people who are jeopardized. They don't want to be jeopardized, but they are. And they're jeopardized because they aren't strong, or they aren't smart, or they aren't rich, or a combination of those 3. And so they jeopardize their morals and their values and their integrity because they got to put food on the table, because they got to buy that pill or that vaccine, because they haven't handled their business to the degree that they should. Now, look, we don't know what's going to happen in life, and although a lot of life is within our control, there's a lot of life that is not in our control. And I can't tell you with 100% certainty that if you do all of the things I'm going to share with you today, that you will always find yourself in the best position. The truth of the matter is you won't. You will be compromised. There will be challenging times ahead. And I'm not saying that there won't. I'm just suggesting that if you're strong, smart, and wealthy, the odds of you having to deal with negative circumstances or being asked to jeopardize your standards or morals will be significantly diminished and reduced. And isn't that what we want? In my past life, I was a financial advisor, and my job was to anticipate situations that could potentially arise that would pose a risk or a threat to your financial well-being. That could be a medical condition, a loss of a job, a lawsuit, losing a car, planned obsolescence, which is just basically the fact that things wear out, computers, cars, et cetera, et cetera. And you'll have to buy the new thing, and it's usually more expensive than the old thing was. And then we had to manage risk in the markets and everything else. And so my job was to reduce, not eliminate, because how can you eliminate? My job was to reduce as much risk as possible for my clients. It's funny, a lot of you guys know about the canoe. I know a lot of you are sick of hearing about it at this point, but a guy the other day, I had posted something about the canoe that we're building, my son and I, my oldest son and I. And a guy had posted, not to be a downer, but are we 100% sure this thing will float? Well, hell no. Of course, we're not 100% sure. Like, how could we be 100% sure until I put the dang thing in the water and attempt to float that and paddle that across the lake? Nothing's 100% sure. Is that a reason not to do it? No, of course not. No, we should be aware of it, right? We should look for the holes in the canoe or the holes in our life. We should make sure there are no holes. We should make sure we build the thing right. And if we do, then the odds are that, we're going to be okay. And maybe there's a leak here or two there, but odds are we're going to be okay. We're going to get across the lake. And that's a metaphor for life. You're going to have a little bit of leaking here and there. It isn't going to be perfect. But you know what? You make the best that you can. And just because it isn't 100% perfect doesn't mean you don't get to go on the path. It means that you try to shore those areas up. And that's what risk is all about. And so as I'm talking about sovereignty, and I wrote the book on it, Sovereignty, the Battle for the Hearts of Minds and Men, I think that was in 2017 or 18. I can't remember at this point. That was my goal, to equip you with the tools and skill sets and the knowledge that you needed to be sovereign, to not have to rely on the state or the government or other people or your family or your friends, but to be self-reliant. And by the way, that doesn't mean you can't accept help as it's offered. I have people in my life who help me, and I gladly accept that help. A hand up, not a hand out. So sovereignty isn't about living on an island where nobody can help you, nobody can serve you, you're not banded with anybody. We've talked about the importance of having people around you. Sovereignty is about not needing it to survive. So let's break this down. All right. Number one, again, the three are get strong, get smart, get rich. I think people had a hard time with it because the third, get rich, most people have a negative connotation of the word rich. They think the wealthy, the rich, and this is an increasing trend. It's disturbing, actually. It's very destructive. I'll get into it in a minute, but most people have a negative connotation of rich. We'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk about getting strong. Guys, get off the couch. Stop shoving your face full of like junk food. It's not even food. It's food-like, I would call it. Stop filling your face with that stuff. Eat real food. Vegetables, fruits, meat. Like if you can't acknowledge and recognize it in its real form, it's probably not that great for you. I think about this because I like to get some beef jerky, for example, at the convenience store. Okay, well, that's not its real form. So I should be a little wary of that. Same thing with my kids. They like fruit snacks. Okay, fruit snacks, like the little gelatin fruit snacks, are not in food form. It's food like, but instead you should probably eat an apple or a peach or a pear or whatever. My wife gets these little, I think I don't even know what they are. They're little dehydrated vegetable crispy things. And so you see vegetable on the thing and you're thinking, oh, vegetable. Yeah, it's good. No, it's food like you should just actually eat some peas or eat some green beans or eat some carrots. That's what you should be eating. All right. So eat real food, eat food that you can recognize, go into the gym, train your body, exercise every day. And even as I say that, some of you guys are thinking, well, technically you should work out 3 to 5 days a week and then recover 2 days a week. Exercise your body every damn day. All right. Move your body. Go out and get your steps, get a walk in, train jujitsu, go do some strength lifting, do some CrossFit, go outside and flip tires, go ride a bike, go for a run, go for a walk, play with your kids at the park. This is what I'm talking about. All right. I'm not telling you to go 100% every day. Go 100% 5 days a week and go 70 to 80% 2 days a week. And you can determine what that is. But if you're not strong, how are you going to live your life? Next month, I turn 40. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm the fittest. I'm the strongest. I'm the most capable. I'm attempting to turn my body into a tool and a weapon at age 40. I could kick the shit out of the 18-year-old version of myself. And that's how it should be. Many of us give ourselves excuses and justifications and all sorts of reasons. And we get out of bed and we're like, I'm so old. And if you say that, you are, and it's likely that you're doing what old people do, which is going to bed at 7 o'clock and watching soap operas. And I remember my grandparents used to give us this little dish of like these little strawberry, like hard candy. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. If you had grandparents that did like mine did, I don't even know if they have those available anymore. And they watched their soap operas and they made us, lunch, and they went to bed at 7 o'clock and they had a little poodle. I mean, that's what old people do. Don't be an old person. All right. Go out and play with your kids, flip tires, ride bikes, go to the park, play on the swings, wrestle, do all the things that you should be doing. And by the way, this is crucial. I saw a study the other day, and I can't quote what study it came from, so you guys will have to look it up. But it said something like, don't quote me, but it was something like 78% of people who experienced hardship, conditions, and hospitalizations for COVID were obese. No shit. Do we really need a study for this? Apparently we do. You don't need a study. If you're fat and you're weak and you're overweight and you're out of shape, that you are going to experience hardship. And by the way, the pharmaceutical companies, they're relying on that. They're relying upon you eating the junk food and not working out and not training your body and being an old guy. They're relying on that. I saw another report that I think it was the Pfizer vaccine. The executives and the spokespersons for Pfizer came out and said that, it may be a good idea to get a third shot for the vaccine, and then you'll get your annual booster. So we go from this virus that impacts very few people, frankly, overweight people. Almost 80% of the people are overweight. So that's who it impacts. To let's roll out a vaccine, to you're only going to need a shot, to now you need 2 shots. And now Pfizer's saying, no, now you need 3 shots and you need a booster every year. Well, you just relinquish some of your sovereignty. And by the way, I'm not going to tell you whether or not you should take your vaccine or not. That's up to you to decide. The Micklers are not going to be taking that vaccine currently because it's unnecessary at this point. Oh, that was for the better good of society. Well, look, if your vaccine works, it doesn't matter if I took my vaccine or not. Right? If you're listening to this and you're like, well, I'm somebody who's going to take the vaccine, then I do it. Fine. Cool. Take the vaccine. And if yours works as well as you think it does, then it actually doesn't matter if I take the vaccine or not. But I'll tell you what I'm going to be focusing on. Getting strong, getting fit, getting sleep, getting the right nutrients in my body, And that's a lower hanging fruit. Like, it's easy to go get yourself punched in the arm with a little shot. You can make that decision. Somebody said, I posted this on Twitter about getting the shot. And somebody said, well, I don't know, Ryan. It seems like it's easier to go get a shot. Yeah, of course it's easier because you don't have to do any work. Of course that's easier. Is that the goal of life, for it to be easy? Let me just do the easy shit. Again, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying, like, you don't base prudent decisions on what's easy. You base it on what's prudent, what's wise, what's smart, what's healthy, what's intelligent, not what's easy. Like, if all of your decisions were based on what was easy, like, you just be eating, bonbons and watching TV all day and, I don't know, doing whatever it is I'm always tempted to do, but I resist that. So guys, go get yourself strong. Lose weight. Eat the right foods. Eat real foods. Get sleep. Rest. Recover. Get strong. Put yourself in difficult situations, physically and mentally. Go do some public speaking. Go ask for a raise. Just do something because it's hard. If it's snowing outside, just go outside and do a walk because it's snowing, because it's harder. Go take an ice bath or a cold shower. Somebody else can talk to you about the positive benefits of that more than I can, but I'll tell you what, just do it because it's hard. Just because it's hard, you're going to do it. Make that the reason, not because it's easy. All right, enough of that. You guys get it. Get smart. Get smart. Dumb people are subject to the powers that would be, period. Bottom line. If you're dumb, and look, dumb relates to intelligence. Let's say you're dumb or you're ignorant. And ignorant, I don't think relates to intelligence. Ignorant is more an indicator of potentially laziness. Ignorance doesn't mean you're dumb. It just means you don't know. And there's no reason to be ignorant in this day and age. You've got access to tools and books and podcasts and information and resources and conferences and courses. And if you're ignorant, that's on you. So being dumb and being ignorant are two different things, and both are unexcusable. Go get smart, guys. Read books, listen to podcasts, go to conferences, talk with people who are smarter than you, surround yourself, ask good questions. How is it that there isn't things you could know about? I mean, look, go on YouTube. You can learn about anything. And this is actually one of the practices I do, because I come across things that I'm not familiar with. Years ago, I came across Bitcoin, for example, cryptocurrency. Like, what the hell is this? Well, you know what? Like, I could have sat by and just waited or just not inform myself. And instead, I'm like, I'm going to dive into this. I'm going to do some research. And I jumped online and I typed in cryptocurrency and I typed in Bitcoin. And I had a friend the other day who asked me, we were out to dinner the other night, and he said, hey, do you own any cryptocurrency? And I said, yeah. And he talked about Bitcoin. And he's like, have you bought any Bitcoin recently? I'm like, yeah, I bought Bitcoin recently and I bought it years ago. And he's like, what, years ago? Like, what did you buy it at? So I pulled up my account the other day and I bought a lot of crypto or Bitcoin specifically at 13,000. I think it's, I don't know, 50, I don't know what it is right now, 54, 56, somewhere right in there. Well, I bought a lot of crypto, Bitcoin specifically, again, at 13,000. That's pretty awesome if you look at the portfolio today, because I took some time to get educated and get smart on it and expose myself to the information. It's the same thing with this business. People say, oh, Ryan, you got so lucky with this bill. Look, you just hit the right thing. And maybe we hit the right time, but also I thrust myself into the environment. The very first thing I did in March of 2015, again, I told you earlier, we're on our 6-year anniversary. So the very first thing I did in March of 2015 is I typed in on my computer, Google, Bing, whatever. I typed in men's conferences. And because I didn't know what they were, and I didn't know where they were and who was hosting them and whatever else. Like, I didn't know any of that. but we've got Google. So I typed it in, men's conferences, and I found this one. It was called Menfluential. I think it was actually called StyleCon originally, by my friends Aaron Marino and Antonio Centeno. And I looked through the guest list and the speakers, and I saw Tanner Guzzi and Eric Bandholtz, and of course, Aaron and Antonio were speaking. And then I saw Brett McKay with Art of Manliness. A lot of you guys are familiar with Art of Manliness. And I thought, I want to meet Brett. I admire him. I respect him. He's doing great things in the space. I want to meet this guy. So I call up Antonio Centeno and I say, hey, Antonio, my name's Ryan Mickler. I'm starting the Order of Man podcast and movement and blog, and I would like to come speak at your event. I had no right to ask him that, actually, because who was I? And that's what he said. Who are you? He's like, I'll tell you what, come to the event, introduce yourself, and then we'll talk. And that's what I did. I invested in myself. I got educated. I get smart. I went to the course. I went to the conference, and I met him and Aaron and Brett and Tanner and Ryan McGinn and Eric Bandholtz and with Beard Brand and all these other guys. I met all these other guys. And I got smart. And then I started reading books. Look, when I was struggling in my financial planning practice and when my wife left me with my 1-year-old son, I didn't sit on the couch and mope around and bitch and moan and complain and talk about how woe is. Actually, I did do that for a little bit. I'm not going to lie about that. I did do that for a little bit. And then I was like, okay, enough with a pity party. I got to get to work. I got to figure some of this stuff out. And so I started listening to Ed Milet. And there was no podcast. Podcasting wasn't a thing. There was very few people podcasting at the time. But I bought CDs from Ed Milet, and I would pop them in my truck. And on my way to and from appointments, I would listen to Mr. Milet talk about how to hold successful sales calls and how to build your financial planning practice and how to communicate effectively with people. And I would listen to Dale Carnegie and all of these classic books and CDs on tape at the point. And I would just listen and I would just consume. And it's not a surprise to me now. It was then. It would have been then. But not a surprise to me now, looking back over 6 years, that I am where I am today. It's not a surprise to me. I'm not surprised that this is successful. I'm not surprised that I sound like these individuals. I'm not surprised that what they taught me indirectly, by the way, these were indirect mentors, that what they taught me has rubbed off on me. That is not a surprise to me. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to share with you today, I wrote down 5 books that I think you should read, because I don't want to leave you without any resources here. So let me give you 5 books that I think every single man should read. And there's more, just like there's more to sovereignty than getting strong, smart, and rich. There's more books, but these are 5, not the 5, but 5. Okay, here we go. Number 1, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. The information that you put into your mind and the way you think about life and the way you perceive experiences and the meaning and the stories you craft around not only this podcast, but your job and your relationship and other people. You're creating all of that stuff. You're filling in the blanks. You don't know you are, but you are. You're filling in the blanks. You're making shit up. We're all doing it. I'm making stuff up as I'm doing this podcast. When I would listen to Ed Milet, I was making things up in my mind. I'm like, oh, he's saying this. I don't know if he was saying that. I was making it up in my mind. That's how powerful the mind is. And the people who are unsuccessful have made up stories in their mind that are wrong, that aren't serving them. And the people who are successful have also made things up in their mind. This is just like an imagination factory. And what they've made up in their mind is serving them well. But we're all making it up. Every conversation, every experience, every story, every encounter, everything that you listen to, you are filling in the blanks. And if you fill in the blanks with the right things, you'll win. If you fill in the blanks with the wrong things, you'll lose. As a Man Thinketh is valuable by James Allen. Number 2, Wild at Heart, John Eldredge. It changed my life. That is not hyperbole. That book transformed my life. the way that I look at masculinity, the way I view what my role and responsibility as a man, and not just a man, but a child of God. It changed my life. John Eldridge is actually coming back on the podcast. He's been on once. He's coming back for round 2. Wild at Heart by John Eldridge. And by the way, if you're not Christian, there is Christian undertones in the book. If you're not Christian, I don't care. Go read the book. Because there's truth everywhere. Number 3, extreme ownership, Jocko Willink. I believe that Jocko is the individual we've had on the podcast the most. In fact, I'm fairly certain of that. I think he's come on 4 times at this point. Jocko Willink, Leif Babin. These are men that I get to call friends. I've had conversations outside and above and beyond the podcast. These are incredible men. Extreme ownership, taking responsibility for your life. Number 4, endurance. A little bit different than a self-help book. It's up here somewhere. I read that book every year. It's about a gentleman by the name of Ernest Shackleton and his ill-fated attempt to cross the Antarctic on foot and what they experienced and the hardship they dealt with. Brutal, tragic, horrific, unimaginable circumstances. And yet, well, I won't say anymore. Unimaginable circumstances. Go read it. Endurance. I think there's a couple iterations. I like the book by Alfred Lansing. Endurance by Alfred Lansing. And the last one, Sovereignty. Now, look, I know I'm a bit biased, but Sovereignty, The Battle for the Hearts and Minds of Men, written by yours truly. That's what we're talking about today. Get smart, get strong, get rich, be sovereign, be responsible for yourself. Don't be at the mercy of other people. So go read Sovereignty, The Battle for the Hearts and Minds of Men. It's best to pick it up on Amazon right now or Barnes & Noble. There's probably a dozen other bookstores online that you can pick it up at if you don't want to get it on Amazon, and I get that. Every once in a while, we do a small limited run of signed copies in the store. We don't have any available now. We will in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But for now, go pick it up on Amazon. You'll get it in 2 days. There's an audiobook version. If you want to listen to me for whatever reason, you can do that too, if that's easier. Sovereignty, The Battle for the Hearts and Minds of Men. And I break this down even further, and I get into the strategies of how to do it. But guys, number 1, get strong. We talked about it. Number 2, get smart. We're talking about that now. Don't be dumb. Don't be ignorant. The information's there. And if you don't tap into it, that's on you, nobody else. It's your fault. All right. And number 3, get rich. Now, this is where everybody gets hung up because we have this negative connotation of the word rich, right? If I were to ask you, be truthful about this. Okay, I'm going to give you a fill in the blank. And I want you to think of the first word that pops into your mind. I'm going to give you a fill in the blank, and I want you to think of the first word that pops into your mind. I'm not going to grade this. You're not going to turn this in. It's just a little self-reflective exercise for you to consider. Again, it's a fill in the blank. Think of the first word that pops into your mind. Here we go. Rich people are blank. Rich people are blank. What word did you fill in? What was the first word that popped in your mind? Not the answer you thought I wanted to hear. Not the answer that you thought was quote unquote right. What was the first word that popped into your mind? Rich people are blank. I'd be willing to bet that for the majority of people who are listening, they would say selfish, greedy, corrupt, evil. And I would bet that for the minority, you would say industrious, creative, generous. Most of you, and I would too. I'm not pointing fingers. When I went through this exercise, I said it's something negative. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't positive because we have this negative connotation of the word rich. Rich people are greedy. Rich people are assholes. Rich people are self-centered. They're selfish. Oh, they rob from everybody else at their own, other people's expense to get ahead. That's what we think. Remember how I talked about making shit up? That's what you're doing. You're making shit up. You don't know that. Look, I know just as many successful rich people, like positive, encouraging, uplifting, helpful, creative, rich people. And I know a bunch of assholes who are poor and broke. I know both. I know assholes who are poor, assholes who are rich. I know great people who are poor, great people who are rich. It has nothing to do with your wealth. Wealth is just a magnifier. So I'm telling you what we need more noble, positive, creative, caring, kind, strong, empathetic men who are rich. Because I've been broke and I've been relatively wealthy, and wealthy is better. Wealthy is better. Not just for me, but I get to spend time. Look, I spent 4 hours this afternoon with my children. I didn't punch in to some time clock. I wasn't at the mercy or beholden to anybody else to tell me what to do. I took my kids to CrossFit this morning. We trained for about an hour and a half. We came home. We ate lunch together. We went outside. We rode bikes and we played and we shoveled snow and we spent time together. I took my daughter's training wheels off. She's riding around now without training wheels because I have money, guys. That's why. Because if I didn't have the financial resources and means to be able to do that, I'd be punched in at some company doing something that I likely didn't want to do, and I would be miserable because my kids are doing their thing with maybe my wife, or maybe even at school. They're not even here with us because I don't have the financial resources to do it. So don't tell me that being rich is bad. Being wealthy has served me well. And other people, my kids, the people that I can donate to, the organizations and causes that I believe in, because I have money. There's another reason. I had a gentleman reach out the other day, and this is actually kind of what spurred this whole conversation. And I'm not going to name any names just out of respect for this individual, but he reached out and he said, Ryan, I'm at the point where I feel like in the very near future, I may be asked to jeopardize my principles and morals in my job. What should I do? And I said, you need to get rich. You need to invest. You need to pay off your debt. You need to start setting money aside. You need to tighten up your budget. You need to create a side income, because when that day comes, and it sounds like you believe it will come, when that day comes, I don't want you to sacrifice or jeopardize your morals and principles because you have to put food on the table and you've got a wife and children to worry about. And you know what? The odds are, if you had to take care of your family and that meant you had to sacrifice or jeopardize your morals and principles, you would do that, right? Who wouldn't do that? If I had to put food on my table and the only way I could do it was to steal to make it happen, I would do that. I don't want to be in that position, guys. I don't want you to be in that position. So I've set myself up to not be in that position. We've got investments. We've got money set aside. We've got food storage. We've got the provisions. I mean, there was a time in my life, I just had a conversation with a friend this morning. There was a time in my life where my wife and I ate off of food storage, literally canned green beans and other things that she had prepared, because I was broke. I was worried about making the mortgage payment, the car payment. And so we couldn't buy groceries. She would say, hey, I'm going to go grocery shopping. How much could I spend? Can I spend $100? And I'd say, no, really, you can only spend 60. That's not sovereign. I'm beholden to the financial institutions that love to collect interest from you, that love to see you poor and destitute, to the government who wants to continue to give you the little handouts, right? Oh, $1,400 in stimulus check. Here you go. Here you go, little peasants. Yeah, you've paid tens of thousands of dollars or more into the system. Here, just be quiet. Let me give you $1,400 back. And all you freaking assholes are listening because you have no choice, right? Like $1,400 is a big deal to you. It shouldn't be a big deal. I'm not going to say it's not nice. I'm not talking about balking at money or being arrogant about it. I'm just saying if $1,400 changes your life, you're wrong. You got to fix something. That shouldn't change your life. And if it does, then correct it now. Correct the behavior now. I'll give you one more little anecdote on this that I've shared in the past. Years ago, I considered hiring a coach for my financial planning practice. And I think there was a $1,500 initial investment to go out and meet this individual. And I went out there, and the total investment ended up being, it was right around, if I remember correctly, $6,000. And I didn't have $6,000 at the time. I wasn't in the position to invest in that, but I got done with this presentation. I thought, you know what? I am going to go do this. I'm going to invest in this coaching. I think this will help me. And I did, and it did. It radically transformed my life because I invested in it. But the gentleman who was coaching me told us a story. And he said, when he was building his financial planning practice at the time, or wanted to, he went to his company, his employer, who was the financial planner. And he went into his office and he said, hey, I'm really thinking about breaking out on my own and starting my own financial planning practice. And that's the first mistake. Never ask for advice from someone who has a vested interest in ensuring you stay exactly where you are. Let me say that again. Never ask for advice from somebody who has a vested interest in you staying right where you are, the status quo. But he did, because he didn't know any better, and he taught us, so that's good. But he went in and asked his employer, and his employer said, you'll never make it. You're going to struggle. You can't do it. Why would he say that? Because he had a vested interest in keeping this guy on the hook. That's not sovereignty. And I'll never remember what my coach said. He said, you know what? I'd rather live in a cardboard box than be your bitch for the rest of my life. And he marched out that door, and now he's making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And he's sovereign. He has control over his life. He doesn't have to jeopardize his morals. He can contribute to the places that he wants to contribute. He can volunteer. He can be available for family and friends. He can go on adventures and have experiences and teach people things and coach when and where he wants to. And there's not a soul on earth who can make him do otherwise while dangling the little carrot of financial freedom over his head, because he created it. He created it for himself. Guys, you got to build wealth. And I know some of you are thinking right now, money's the root of all evil, which I think it actually says the love of money. And you're thinking rich people are greedy, rich people are assholes, that rich people are criminal or crooks. It ain't true. That's a story that you're making up. I know plenty of wealthy people, and I've had the great fortune of being able to meet extremely, extremely financially successful individuals. And I can tell you some of them are assholes, sure. But I can tell you the overwhelming majority of them are not. They know how to create value. They know how to serve. They know how to lead. They have skill sets that are applicable and valuable to other people. And generally, they're good human beings. It isn't the wealth. Wealth is just a magnifying glass. If you're an asshole with money, you're going to be a bigger asshole. You're going to buy the strippers and the coke and everything else, and you're just going to turn into a bigger asshole. But if you're a good and decent man and you start to build wealth, then you're going to donate to charity. You're going to go on experiences. You're going to serve other people. You're going to give back. You're going to pour money back into your business to create new value and services and products that you can offer other people. It's only a magnifying glass. And I want the biggest damn magnifying glass that I can find, not at the expense of other people, but for other people, for my kids who I get to homeschool, for my wife who doesn't have to leave every single day and go into a job that she hates. She gets to can, and she gets to grow her garden, and she gets to build this house into a home, and she gets to teach her children because I have money to be able to do it. If I want to take a week off, I take a week off. If I want to take the afternoon off because I want to play with my kids, you're damn right that's what I do, because I built wealth. Money is amoral, guys. It's literally, well, here's a check on my desk. It's a piece of paper. That's all it is. It's a piece of paper. It's not moral. It's not good. It's not bad. I got a hammer and some axes over here on the wall. I don't think those are good or bad. I just think they're hunks of wood handles and metal heads. And then how I use it matters. If I use it to go butcher somebody, then yeah, I use that incorrectly. If I use it to chop down a tree and build a canoe or build a log cabin up in the wilderness, then you're damn right. That thing's a pretty good tool. It's amoral. Money is amoral. It's how you use it. Guys, we need to get sovereign. Now more than ever, the government wants to control you. Your boss wants you to be on the line forever. Your creditors want you to be broke. The pharmaceutical companies want you to be unhealthy. Everybody wants you to be not sovereign, to be a slave. And it's your job not to be. It's not my job to do that for you. It's not the government's job. Because look, the government is at odds with your own sovereignty. Okay, you need to understand that. Oh, what do you? The government's here to help us. No, they're not here to help you. They're here to hinder you and make you a little cog in their wheel. They don't care about you. They hate you. They despise you. Maybe not even that bad, but I remember when I was little, I had this ant farm. And it was very entertaining to watch the ants build the tunnels. I didn't care about the ants. And the only time I added value to their life, like gave them a little food, was so they could build tunnels to entertain me. That's the government. They don't care about you. They give you little crumbs so that you'll keep doing what's entertaining to them, which is their quest for power. The pharmaceutical companies, they don't care about you. It's actually better for them if you're fat and unhealthy. It's better for them. They don't care about you. You got to care about yourself. And you got to care about the people under your care. And we do that by being sovereign. Get strong, guys. Get smart, get educated, get rich, build wealth. And then use it as a force for good in your life and the people that you care about, the people that you love. Because everybody else isn't. They aren't. Do it for yourself. That's your job. That's our job as men. Protect, provide, preside. We've talked about it today. Protect, provide, preside. That's your job. That's your role. That's your responsibility. And getting smart and getting strong and getting rich will help you do it. All right, guys. With that, I'll sign out. We'll be back next week. Get to work. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.